You know, we all tend to think of math as this ultimate bedrock of certainty. It's the one place where things are just plain true or false. But what if I told you there's a massive philosophical battle raging right at its core? So today, let's jump into that fascinating question. Is math something we find out there in the universe, or is it something we actually make up ourselves?
All right, let's get right to it with a question that sounds, well, almost silly. Is 2 plus 2 equals 4 a fact we discovered or an idea we invented? I mean, come on, it feels as real and solid as gravity, right? But think about it. Was that truth just hanging out in the cosmos waiting for us to stumble upon it? Or is it a concept, a rule that we humans created to make sense of everything? This one simple question, it just cracks the whole debate wide open.
So let's start with the view that most of us probably have, even if we've never really thought about it. This is the classical view. And the idea here is that mathematicians are kind of like cosmic explorers, charting a vast pre-existing landscape of truth that's already out there. Yeah, this classical view is often called Platonism, and it suggests that math lives in this perfect, abstract world, completely separate from us. So the perfect idea of a circle, what you might call its ontological archetype, it exists in this realm, totally timeless and flawless. These truths have always been there, completely independent of human minds. Our job, then, isn't to create them, it's just to find them.
Okay, but now let's flip that entire idea completely on its head. This brings us to the constructivist view, and this is a really radical alternative. What if there is no separate, perfect world of math? What if all of it, I mean everything, from 1 plus 1 to the most mind-bending equations, is actually a product of our own minds?
And here's where you really see the clash. On one side, you've got the classical view. Math is discovered. It's an external reality. A truth simply is. But then on the other side, you have the constructivist view. Math is created. It's a mental reality. And this is the kicker. A truth only exists once it is known, once it has been built and proven inside a mind. I mean, that is a huge shift in how you think about truth itself.
The major philosophical engine driving this whole constructivist idea is called intuitionism, and the key phrase here is actively built. It says that mathematical objects don't just exist out there waiting for us. No, they pop into existence through the very act of a human mind constructing them.
This brings us to the powerful motto of intuitionism, which really says it all. See, it's not enough for a mathematical statement to be true in some abstract, vague sense. For an intuitionist, truth is proof. If you can't provide a direct, constructive proof that something exists, well, then you just can't say that it's true. It has to be known, not just assumed to be out there somewhere.
So if you play by these rules, math becomes something totally different. It stops being the study of some distant, perfect world. Instead, it's the study of how our own minds work. Mathematical reality exists only inside the reality of our thoughts. Every single object, every single truth, has to be explicitly built. You can't just claim a number exists. You have to show me the mental blueprint for how to construct it.
Okay, I know this all sounds pretty abstract, right? So the obvious next question is, how does this process of mental construction actually work? How do we get from the messy, chaotic world we see and touch to the clean, perfect, precise world of mathematics? So, how does this actually happen? Well, intuition is basically lay out a blueprint for building math from the ground up. You start with your real-world sensory experiences. Then your mind has to perform a series of operations to create these abstract concepts, and at every single step you need that constructive proof. It's like a pathway leading from raw perception to pure, clean logic.
Now, a really key challenge in this whole process is something the great mathematician Poincaré called the discontinuity jump. Just think about it for a second. The world we see and feel is continuous, it's flowing, it's messy, but numbers, 1, 2, 3, they're perfectly separate, clean, discrete things. That leap from the continuous world to a discrete concept, that's the jump. And according to intuitionists, our minds make that jump through mental construction.
So what's the most basic tool we use to make that jump? You're going to love this. It's something incredibly simple, the act of identification. It's our ability to look at two different things, two apples, two cars, whatever, and decide that for some purpose they are the same. This simple cognitive act of creating sameness is seen as the absolute bedrock, the first Lego brick from which all of logic and mathematics is built.
Right about now, you might be thinking, okay, this is a cool philosophical puzzle, but so what? Why does it actually matter? Well, it matters a whole lot because it gets to the very heart of what we consider to be true, and not just in a math class.
This is a debate about the nature of certainty itself. And hey, this wasn't just some casual coffee shop debate. Back in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, mathematicians were facing what they called the crisis of mathematical foundations. All these new paradoxes were popping up that made people seriously question if math was as rock solid as they'd always believed. Intuitionism actually came about as a direct response, a way to try and rebuild mathematics on what they argued was a more secure, more constructed, and fundamentally human foundation.
So let's just be really clear about what's on the line here. This is not a minor disagreement. This constructivist view completely redefines what truth even means by tying it directly to what our minds can build. It raises the bar for certainty sky high, demanding a concrete proof for absolutely everything. And maybe most profoundly, it challenges the very idea of a single universal math, suggesting instead that the math we have is fundamentally uniquely human.
And all of that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If mathematics is this magnificent structure that we built inside our own minds instead of some cosmic truth we just discovered, does that make it any less powerful, any less beautiful, or any less true? What you decide really says a lot about what you think truth itself really is.